Today, I'm here to talk about redefining success and my take on it. So where did it all start and how did I get here? Just a bit of background on myself. So it started back in 2007 when the aviation industry was booming in Malta and their Lufthansa Technique were expanding. And that's when I decided to apply to become an aircraft mechanic and just sort of see where my career would go. After a few years of learning a few things about planes, and you're all alive, so the planes I worked on still did their job, I decided to go to university, and I continued my education in engineering, and I graduated as an automotive engineer. Following that, and literally on the last day of my exams in engineering, I decided to go straight into the music industry, which is probably not what my parents wanted. So after a few years of exploring the music industry and events and working with amazing brands like Snow Bombing, The Warehouse Project, Carl Cox, traveling festivals, living in Ibiza, and sort of learning about the industry, I decided to come back home. So I joined 356 Entertainment Group. During this time, the Malta festival scene was exploding, as you all know it today. And that is when I experienced my first sort of understanding of what burnout was. During that summer, I actually worked in over 140 events in 110 days. 3 mobile phones, not a lot of sleep, having my now wife move to Malta, almost leave me. And then so I learned very hard what burnout was. Following that and burning out, I said, it's time to become my own boss. I felt I knew what I could do after a season like that. So I decided I'm going to go out, be a consultant. And I went, bought a new iPhone, bought a new laptop, ready to go. Little did I know that my now wife sent my CV to a friend at Betson Group. And back then, to take roughly about 3 to 4 months to go through a recruitment cycle, and my independent career lasted 9 days. So that's when I signed a contract and joined Betson Group. 2 weeks later, I joined Betson for 4.5 years, where I entered the industry as a social media manager, worked my way up to marketing manager, head of marketing, onto business owner, building and entering the Canadian market. Following that, I moved on to Presenter Group for about 18 months, where I was the commercial director. I was responsible for 98% of the revenue. And after that, Brook Fund was sort of kind of born, and kind of that's where it led on to. I do want to mention something here, because my career has obviously been quite vast, and there's a few things which sort of define this moment. And today we all talk about well-being, we talk about kind of work-life balance and everything. There was none of that back there. And I made a lot of sacrifices to sort of get to where I am today. I've missed birthdays, I missed parties, I missed a number of things. And that sort of will fall through the rest of the topic in today's conversation. So, what is Brook Fund and what are the companies we're involved in? So, Brook Fund is a venture partner. Basically, we hold majority and minority stakes in these following businesses. And our objective and our key focus is to build market leaders. So as you can see, we have 10 companies across 6 different sectors. But I want to touch on 2 of them in particular, which we're quite proud of. This one is Knockin'. They just look amazing, so I just wanted to show you some really nice photos as well. Basically, Knockin' is providing closer links to nature through beautiful, eco-conscious modular architecture with complementary lifestyle products for the hospitality industry. So in simple terms, if you have a piece of land, you can buy a few of these and you can start your own little hotel chain. And that's sort of what we're trying to do and grow and build projects. The next one is Heater. I like this a lot because of my engineering background. So Heater is a decentralized data center concept, and the main objective is to unlock the value of waste heat. Something which a lot of people don't know. Everyone talks about the cloud, this famous cloud, but this cloud has a lot of processors, a lot of demand for energy. And on average, between 20 to 60% of data centers, the actual energy that's consumed is to cool down data centers. So in our case, we actually take the waste heat and have a net positive reaction. So what we do is we connect a little chip on your water boiler, we do all the processing, all the compute network, and then from there we take that excess heat and we produce hot water for free. So just to give a bit of scope of like how much hot water and how much energy is actually used and saved. So a 2-minute animation. We're not talking an hour, we're not talking Black Mirror, 2-minute animation. So in that 2 minutes, just by doing a case study with ModelWorks, we were able to save 250 kilograms of CO2 and produce 14 tons of hot water. So that's how like the impact that it can have. But moving on. So what really gets me out of bed and what do I consider success on a personal level? Mine is time. That's my definition. So why has time become important to me? Unfortunately, it's losing too many loved ones in a very, very short period of time. It's actually 9 people in 18 months, to be exact. And what's even crazier during that period is that there was 3 people in 3 weeks. 1, 1, 1, 1. And I still remember still thinking to myself where I got a phone call on a Sunday from my dad, and thankfully there was no bad news. And I was like, this 1 person a week pattern is finally over. So it was a very heavy sort of period, and you can only imagine the way it would impact one's mental state. So thankfully, I had to sort of figure out how I'm going to ground myself during this period. And I'm very grateful that I've got great family, great friends sort of helped me during this tough time, who also are going through this tough time as well. And throughout this process, obviously, I had to sort of do some work on myself, and 2 things really stood out that really helped me through this process, which was gratitude and the way to sort of reframe things. And I started saying to myself, I really need to be grateful for what I've got. I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't have any financial worries, I've got a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter who love me, I come from a home filled with joy. So that's obviously things which I needed to really hold close to me to help ground myself. But then it's also like through this process, I realized that gratitude was sort of a way to cure my pain. And from that, I then started to reframe things and sort of this is my positive take on things, which is that I'm blessed to have spent moments in time with these people. And I'm also grateful the fact that I take these memories on with me in my journey in life. So what was the result of all that? Resigning impulsively in a lift with my ex-CEO after a management lunch. And this is literally when I was in the lift. I got a notification from my wife saying that her grandfather passed away. Opened my hand, and I just went, I'm out. And that's literally how I resigned from Presenter Group back then. So ultimately, it led to, obviously, to a period of some downtime, deciding to go all in with my now business partners, Rich, who's here today, Roberto, and it led us to starting our own ventures in the finance world and the gaming space. Not great for family time, but in the long run, I genuinely believe it will be. So I want to share something with you about time and sort of, especially time with loved ones. So there was a study carried out by the American Institute of Time. I'm not sure if anybody's ever seen this before. And as you can see, time with family, friends, partners, children, over time declines. And time alone actually increases. These are the 4 that are very important to me. So my main objective is, and sort of a little kind of note I wanted to mention, is that life is short, it's chaotic, it's socially demanding, especially if you live in Malta. We all know how that can be. It can be very intense, but it's also very beautiful. So time is the one commodity we all have in common, regardless of privilege, education, color, or skin. And time, we don't actually own it, it's borrowed. So for that reason, I choose to work so I can gain time. And here are my sort of tips and tricks which I've sort of put into my life that have helped me benefit and gain time. So the first one is diversification. Obviously, it kind of goes without saying, but ultimately diversification across business, the revenue types, the personal investments you make, or even the sectors and how you operate an individual business. They're really crucial, and more importantly, diversification reduces risk. So it can reduce a lot of personal stress, financial stress, along with a number of other things. Multiple revenue streams. These are what I sort of looked and worked on throughout my career, from investing in property, investing in stocks, being a marketing consultant, music events, which I still can't get out of. Once a promoter, always a promoter, and affiliate marketing. The next is increasing cash flow. And there I also say this is not financial advice. So I'm just being very, this is my take on things. Invest in yourself. I mean, whether it's a performance coach, or which I find very, very useful, personal training and networking. The one thing I probably have, the strongest thing that's been able to help me over these years is literally my contact book. And that's come from going out and chatting to people and seeing where a night goes or wherever it may be. But put yourself out there. That's the best way to build your network. The next is look for guidance, whether it's in terms of mentorship or also think tanks. And also think tanks don't necessarily have to be these established bodies and whatnot. It can be just a group of like-minded people that just want to go somewhere. My relationship with Josh and Rich came sort of unnaturally unplanned over a lunch at Tiffany's, and now I have a new business partner just because we're exploring an idea. So things can move very, very fast as well. The next is always think about the exit. Controversial, some people might say, especially in the startup world. Some people believe that passion's what drives you through projects. I thought that, but now I'm on the other side of the fence. I want always think about the exit. The next is self-care and avoid burnout. I find gym disconnecting or going to the barbers. I went for a quick trim today, so it's looking fresh. But for that 1 hour, I sort of completely able to decompress. And I also find that there is a very significant shift in my mental state from when I walk into the barbers and when I walk out to the barbers. I go in, I feel more confident. When I'm coming back out, I feel good, I'm ready to attack the day. So whether self-care is doing your nails or getting your hair done, whatever, it can be small, but it can have a huge impact. The next thing is solution-based mindset. It goes without saying, but shit will happen, problems will arise, and they'll continue to arise. So it's just about, rather than wasting time on focusing on the problem, is trying to focus on the solution. There's a really interesting story about an entrepreneur back in 2008 who basically, he had a number of assets. The company was about to default. And throughout that process with the bank about to default, he said, you know what, I'm going to go out, I'm going to raise capital and buy the bank. So he went out, bought the bank, and through that process, by acquiring the bank, he acquired a number of really, really good assets. And one of them actually is a very popular hotel in Malta, which is a successful business. So that's about how reframing and flipping things on its head. The next one, cliche as it is, do enjoy the journey. Everyone always thinks 5, 10 years down the line, but it's important to be present and sort of recognize what you've accomplished along the way. And that's why it's important to enjoy the journey. So that's my master list on sort of how I've been able to instill things for me to regain time. And as I'm starting to close off, the biggest thing is we all know we can't buy time. You know what I mean? But my personal opinion is if I can create a structure that allows me to benefit from time in the long run by having my business operate themselves and be able to spend more time with my loved ones, and more importantly, think about giving back. The world's been good to me, and I want to give back. And on the topic of giving back, me and my wife have been sponsoring some very beautiful young children in the Philippines for a number of years through the Mission of Love, which Patrick and Maria do amazing work there. If you're interested, do speak to them. And you'll be amazed that a tiny, tiny little input has a huge impact on somebody's life. From a business perspective, Brook Fund is also pledged to Academy of Givers. It's a very, very good charity that's trying to bridge businesses and local NGOs closer together to sort of have more impact. So I do recommend that if you are a business owner, speak to Josh and the team of Academy of Givers. I'm going to leave you with one quote, which I truly, truly love. And that is, comparison is the thief of joy. So, you do you, and as only you can redefine your own success.